Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and I've got today a list of 8 watch collecting mistakes that I have made in my past, and I've thought about all these ones for quite some time throughout my many years in this weird little watch world of ours. Yeah, I think that this can actually be a helpful set of rough guidelines for people who are new in the watch hobby, but I also do think that this can be actually a nice reality check or a reminder for those of us who are a little bit more seasoned as well. And of course, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the mistakes that I've laid out, and then obviously let me know about any mistakes that you guys have made in the past, because obviously my list is not exhaustive whatsoever, and obviously not set in stone as good or bad, and actually because you'll see that some of them actually kind of contradict one another depending on the situation, I guess. Without further ado, here are the 8 mistakes, no particular order. Let's get into it. So first mistake, buying watches for others to notice, or whatever you want to call that. It's been talked about quite a lot, but that's for a reason. And yeah, just to put things into context, I guess. So I've been into watches my whole life, but I really got more interested in it about, 10, 11 years ago, something like that. And then I really fell off the deep end about 5 years ago. Guess how many people even acknowledged a watch that I was wearing during that time, out in public, not in watch meets. One person throughout the time noticed my watch. Of course, your mileage may vary, obviously, in terms of what sort of circumstances you find yourself in, but suffice it to say that not very many people are gonna notice your watch, like at all. So, why buy a watch to show off to that non-existent person who's not gonna notice your watch? I don't know. Think about it, I guess. The person who's gonna see the watch you're wearing the most is you. So yeah, buy whatever makes you feel good. Buy whatever makes you feel happy whenever you look down at your wrist. Something that makes you, just feel busy inside. I don't know, I guess that's the only adjective I can think of right now. So this can go both ways in terms of buying something expensive just to show off, or not buying something because you feel self-conscious or whatever it is. And earlier in my journey, I didn't want to get the Tudor Pelagos because I used to think that too many people would think that it's a Rolex or something like that, which is attention that I didn't want. But after a really long time, I just couldn't stop thinking about the Pelagos, and I ended up getting it just because I just realized that I shouldn't care about what other people may or may not think about the watch I'm wearing, because I loved it and I wanted to get it, so I got it, and I love it a lot. And also on top of that, for so many non-watch people out over there, pretty much any watch is a Rolex or something like that. So it doesn't even make a difference if you're wearing a cheap watch or an expensive watch. It can be seen as a Rolex. Okay, so mistake number 2, and that's having a sort of checkbox mentality. And what I mean by that is, just buying particular watches just to check off a box in your collection. And this can be in terms of brands or types of watches. And yeah, obviously it can be good to experience a whole bunch of different brands and a whole bunch of different types of watches, but I feel like when you find yourself drawn to a particular type of watch or a particular brand, just embrace it. So yeah, don't feel obliged to buy a particular type of watch just because you don't have that type of watch. Because at one point I really liked and I really wanted an IWC Pilot chronograph quite a few years back, and I liked it, but I realized that I wasn't really yearning for it like I was with other watches, namely more dive watches. Then I realized that it was more a matter of just me wanting a Pilot's watch in the collection, because I didn't have an out-and-out Pilot's watch. And actually to this day, I don't really have an out-and-out Pilot's watch. So be it, I'm a dive watch guy. I don't need to have a Pilot's watch. And just because a particular watch checks all the boxes and is perfect on paper doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work in real life or in your life. Because I bought the original blue Alpinist, the limited edition one, just because I absolutely love my Sarbo 17, the green dial Alpinist. So I thought clearly that having a more versatile version with a blue dial and silver indices, which is really big for me, this is gonna be a no-brainer. It's gonna be a home run, and I'm gonna love it just because it's technically perfect. But when I actually got it and I wore it, it just didn't mesh. Watches are bought with the heart. So yeah, I mean, the heart wants what the heart wants, and just get what the heart wants. The next mistake is not realizing that you can admire a watch from afar without buying it. And this is kind of related to what we just talked about right now, but what I mean by that is that there's a fine line in between actually liking a watch, loving a watch, and then actually loving it enough to buy that watch and adding it to your collection for, you know, extended period of time. And yeah, I mean, there's so many watches being released pretty much every single day, and obviously there's going to be a lot of watches that you're going to really love and that you can actually afford to get. But you get that watch that you know, just kind of lust after, and maybe after a few days or a few weeks you end up forgetting about it, and it just kind of sits there doing nothing, not living a good life. And this has happened to me quite a few times before. And so then I learned that there are a lot of watches out there that, you know, I might obsess about, but I can scratch that itch by just reading articles about it, watching lots of watch reviews about it, and most of the time after a little while I'll just end up forgetting about that watch, which has happened so many times again before, and I end up with having, you know, I just end up moving on with my life with more money in my bank account. Win-win. So the next mistake is not taking risks with your watches, or at least small risks, I guess. In a lot of ways, I guess this kind of contradicts what my last point, because initially, if there's a watch that you really like, but it's not really your thing, you know, you might just think that it's just not for you at all. And that absolutely might be true. If you see a watch you like, but you aren't really sure if it's a crush or something more than that, take a little bit of time off from that watch, see how you feel about it after some time has passed. And if the feelings are still there and, you know, you still really want it, you know, for whatever reason, then go for it, even if on paper it doesn't look to be a perfect watch for you, because once again, things that are perfect on paper aren't necessarily perfect in real life, and things that aren't perfect on paper may be perfect for you in real life. For me, my biggest example is my Ohlken Weiss P104, and yeah, that was a watch that I saw and I absolutely loved it from the start, and I wasn't really quite sure about the somewhat busy dial or the full black bezel. You know, I thought that those would bother me, because typically those are both things that do bother me. You know, and also on top of that, I knew that I was a full-on dive watch guy, so I didn't even know that it can even compete in my collection against all my other divers. But after a few months had passed, I was still, you know, really pining for this watch, and I figured that, okay, clearly this has got something. So I sold a couple watches and I made the move, and surprisingly enough, I absolutely loved it and still do, and I got to experience something different. Sometimes it is nice to just push those boundaries just a little bit. So the next mistake is buying too many watches too quickly. And yeah, sometimes you can get really excited and buy a whole bunch of watches in a super short amount of time, because there's so many watches that are awesome and you just want to experience them, you know, really quickly. And that's kind of what happened to me in 2018. And yes, it was absolutely a lot of fun for sure. And I got to experience a whole bunch of watches, but I also realized eventually that I just simply can't enjoy each watch as much as I would have liked to. And I also felt that I kind of started becoming bored of the new watches even quicker, just because I was always just looking for that next new watch and just being used to having and experiencing a new watch. So I ended up slowing down so that I can really enjoy, you know, the watches that I had and start revisiting them. I found for myself that I was struggling to justify having, you know, that huge bunch of watches that I ended up just, you know, owning for the sake of owning. Yeah, then I sold a whole bunch of them all in one go, pretty much. Next mistake is not selling a watch that you really know that you should sell. And yeah, I mean, coming to the decision of selling a particular watch is difficult, because all the watches that I bought because I liked them. I wouldn't have spent money on them otherwise. And I still like them, even though I kind of know that it is time for it to go. And One thing that you can do to just test whether or not you should sell a watch or not is to take that watch in question, put it in a drawer for a while, see what happens, see if you even miss it. Chances are you won't even notice that it's gone. And obviously if you do miss it during that time, give it some more time and dwell on it a little bit more and think about it. And an example for this one was my Polar Explorer 2, and I absolutely loved the watch, wore it a whole lot, but eventually after a little while, I wasn't really wearing it quite as much, and it was a lot of money to just have sitting around just owning for the sake of owning it. I put it in a drawer, literally forgot about it completely for about a month, and I knew the time had come. Also, just because you don't like a watch anymore doesn't mean that that watch was a mistake from the start. You know, tastes change as you progress through your watch journey. You know, at one point I used to absolutely love dress watches, and I didn't even own a diver. So that's insane to think about, considering my collection right now and how diver focused it is. So yeah, each watch that you own is a learning experience, and you're better for it. Because of all the watches that have come and gone, I've learned and honed in on what my tastes are, and also I've got to experience a whole bunch of, you know, dress watches, you know, chronographs, pilot's watches, whatever it may be, field watches, and I got to learn from all that. So there you have it. Those are my 8 mistakes, and yeah, let me know down in the comments what other mistakes you guys have made in the past and what you think about the ones that I laid out over there. Of course, do like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and like the other videos and enjoy the other videos that I put out over there. And yeah, until the next video, good day.